to Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Free Myself Podcast. When it's concept, and this episode I talk about a scientist is not a doctor. That's basically what I at this stage I can say. You know, maybe as saying that as a bachelor. Maybe if I become a PhD person, I'll be like, okay, I change. A scientist is a doctor, maybe. But at this point, at the bachelor's level, you're not, you will not be a doctor. And and the reason is why is because well, I'm going in the working world, and what happens is that I'm not in the working world. Finished university, I went through adult life, in the real world. And what happened was that throughout these phases, the most random of sicknesses got to me. A random of situations got to me. And I would not. And the thing about it is that after I found the solution, so after I went to the doctor and they gave me the solution and stuff like that, I realized that, bro, this is stuff that I actually learned. So what happened was that, boom, you'd have said something like, boom, I got anemia, and they say, okay, take iron and all those stuff, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, but after a while, I realized I learned that, and it'd be like, wow, I actually knew that. But what happened is that when you're out there experiment or try to accomplish something, you do not real you do there's not something that tells that okay, look to check if you have anemia or stuff like that. That's that on a normal day you don't go around and say, oh, let me look to check if I have anemia. You don't do that on a normal day or stuff like that. You just try to go about your day, try to do stuff. So that's the thing where I say, as a scientist, you may know it's possible, very much possible, you to know the cure and all those stuff for many things. But at the same time, it's very much possible for you to die to the same thing that you know the cure. Because what happens is that you do not. You're on a day to day basis, like you do not. The more like boom, a doctor's in a doctor's role, their task is to basically diagnose you and give you medicine and stuff like that. So it's very much possible for a scientist to say, okay, boom, I found the cure for this. Take their time and put in the research to find the cure for that. And then end up dying from that same thing. But because what happens that boom, when they find a cure and go around and explaining all those stuff. No, these are stuff like that. Going through experience and stuff like that. This could be completely wrong. And the reason why man say it could be completely wrong because this is just coming from my experiences. That's why. Yeah, this just come from my experiences. But maybe if I have the time, I said with this work, really have the time to actually look at the validity of most of the concept I have. But the thing about it is that boom, you do it, found the cure, and I also try and give the doctor. And it's like what happens is that and then you go about your business and what happens is that you're living your life. Because as a scientist you're human just like a doctor, everything you're human. And what happens is that but as a doctor role, you're trained in the sense of looking for these stuff. You're trained in the sense of looking for these stuff. Scientists, a science training is, from my experience, is very different. You know, doctors a lot of memory stuff. Like they study a lot of stuff, and more scientists is more critical thinking. So boom, what will happen is that boom, you go to the doctor and they say, okay, I have this, and this issue, and they will say, okay, based on that, I'm gonna do this and that. So it's like it's like the based on what I'm seeing is more muscle memory. The doctor's role. That's how I would view. But the thing is that the scientist is more critical thinking, where it be like, bro, we're trying to solve an issue, bro. We're solving an issue. So yeah, it does one of those things where going through the adult life and see the random sicknesses that caught me. And what happened was that after I went to the doctor and get the solution, I realized, oh my god, I actually know these stuff. But the thing about it is that if I never went to the doctor, I would not get the right dosage. I know what exactly. I did not know that I would not even know the disease or all those stuff. So that's one of the things where be like, you know, you have to respect the rules. You have to actually respect the rules. So when a person I go to a doctor and be like, that's the thing where you be like, bro, when you disrespecting a so now occupation. Even though I do it as well, I do it as well. I think was that it's the naivety of it in the sense that what happens is that you may actually just interact with a role on the bad side, but not knowing the good side. So it's like boom, like when I just started in the working world, I have the bad side of the HR, or bad view of the HR. But as I grow, it's not like I become like loving of the HR side of it as yet. It's just that now I respect what they're able to do because what happens that boom, you're in a big company like where I'm at now. What the role of the HR does, like if you were to do my role at the job and they say you're going to try to do some HR tasks in a big company like that, it would not make any sense. So so what happens that certain roles you may just meet them at the wrong time. So in a big company like this now, it's not like say, okay, you respect them the HR position more because you see the value of it. You see the value of having that specific role. In this company, you have a big HR group. So it's not one HR person, a big HR team and all those stuff. So you understand the specific of the role and respect it more and all those stuff. Same thing like and specialists. Like boom. Yeah, so the next reason why this episode is relevant is because you have programmers. Yeah, programmers when they're trying to become programmers, they be like, oh my god, can you fix computer too? And be like, oh god, programmers are not a technician, computer technician. And that's the reason why that this episode become relevant because boom, out here trying to say, okay, I'm gonna diagnose build my dream life with the knowledge I gained from the new university knowledge. And what I realized was that was an epic failure. Really, like applying all those stuff I learned from university in the real world was a total failure. I know what I realized is back to where I say value of a company history are so in this sense, value of reality in general is that certain things are in place for a reason. So, like for example, boom, you go on and they say, "Yo, you're gonna apply for a job," and say, "Oh, do a certain medical," and be like, "Oh my god," and you're alcoholic and smoke and all those stuff, and say, "Oh, do a medical," and you're out here trying to. Why no? As an experienced person, why I respect that is because doing this job, bro, it's good to have do a medical to know if you're able to actually attempt a job. So that's the thing where sometimes, and that's the next thing of next level of coming out of poverty is the ability to be safe to even though you're desperate for a job to be like, okay, yo, I'm not even in the position to actually do the medical and realize that doctor say you're not in the position to actually do this job well, and you can just basically sit back and be like, okay, you know health wise it makes sense to actually not do it. And those are competent stuff to actually those are part of the road out of poverty as well, to be able to be like sit out a job you're not able to do and look for a better one that's more suitable to you and all those things. So it's like you know scientists, this is basically the episode, but like scientist is not a doctor, bro. And the scientists have a very, very unique role. And as I grow more, I may find that role. But yeah, we're not a doctor, bro. It's yeah, and it makes sense to have the best thing to do at this point of my experiences before you go on a job or all those stuff is if you possible do a medical yourself before kind of explain the role of the job to a person, to the doctor, and be like, yo, see if my body is actually able to actually manage this job, bro. I get some tool, get some tips on how to actually better handle this job, bro. Cause what will happen is that maybe you handle it better, or maybe you find out like, yo, you can't even handle the job, bro. And it saves you a lot of money in the future. You were like, okay, just by you not doing that job. Oh, yeah, so that's basically it. Whereas, uh, that is my perspective at this point. Where we like, yo, scientist is not a doctor, bro. It's like, like yeah, the more you go into it, the more you respect a certain rule. And like for example, this rule that I'm in at this work, bro. It's like you know I respect it. I, res- I respect it and all those stuff. But it'll be more respected by someone who actually it's like it's a long journey. It's a long journey towards your it's a long journey towards your dream job. You know, lots of twists and turns. Sadly, we don't wake up in our nice science dream job, bro. But this is a lesson that I've learned on this so far, though, right? You know, it's good to on this journey. It's very important to see doctors' advice. Their advice are very competent because they study and prepare for these stuff. And doctors and pharmacy and all those stuff. It's always in your adult years, becoming an adult. That is a next step towards the adulthood. The ability to go to a doctor and seek competent health advice that will extend your life, that will extend your work experience and all those stuff. So that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.